Okay, it's 7 o'clock and we'll call the meeting to order. Jim, the attorney, will be here soon. He had some wild story about being stuck in the construction traffic. Okay, has everybody had a chance to, I think, to read the minutes of the August meeting? Are there any additions or corrections? I guess if not, I would call for a motion and a second to approve the August minutes as presented.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Got a second. Got a motion from Eddie, a second from Chris. All in favor of approving the August minutes, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Let's see. Oh, yes, I've already forgot. Thank you. Okay, we also have to do the minutes from the August 18th. Excuse me. From the August 18th special meeting, where we just had to approve some resolutions to pay some bills. Did anybody have any additions or corrections to those minutes? If not, I would ask for a motion and a second to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the special meeting of August 18th,
Okay, I have a motion.
2016.
Motion from Eddie. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Got a second from Chris. All in favor of approving the minutes of the special meeting on August 18th, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
One abstention. He wasn't there.
I didn't get notice of the meeting until after the meeting occurred.
Yeah,
so
okay, well, we
couldn't be there.
had to, we had some bills we had to pay, and it had to be done quick so it could get published. So it had to be a hurry up, quick thing.
Right. I was here, but I didn't know about it till about 8 o'clock that night. So.
I wish I had been as lucky. Okay. Okay, down to clerk's report. Anything in the clerk's report?
Yes, just a brief, so everybody got a packet and you had a little, it's the Town of Pitkin, like a sign-off sheet for some liability training. I have received from CIRSA a DVD that contains a short video, I think it's 17 minutes long, and then also an ethics and liability handbook. Unfortunately, I did not remember to bring the DVDs, so I will drop them by your respective homes this week. But CIRSA said that in order to meet our goal of having some ethics and liability training, if you all were to review that and then to sign off indicating that you have done so, that would be sufficient. So,
Is this the booklet?
you know, it may be that they have just sent an electronic version of that same book.
Okay.
I'm not sure because I didn't get into the one that's on the disc.
Okay, is that all under clerk's report?
Yes, that's it.
Okay, treasurer's report. Is this mine here?
Yes.
Okay.
On the budgeted column, these, if there were any changes made to any categories, these reflect the updated changes after the resolutions that we just passed to appropriate funds. So these are the new and current budgeted amounts.
Is there any questions on any line item of the treasurer's report? Has everybody had a chance to look? Oh, Eddie?
The only comment I have is in meetings following this one, if we could get this a couple days, I mean, even electronic or whatever, if you could send it out a couple days before the meeting so we'd have a chance to review it before the meeting.
No problem.
Okay.
Yeah, that might be a good idea.
Can you confirm we're over budget in publishing and recording?
That is correct.
Okay.
Are there any other questions on any item? If not, I would ask for a motion to approve the disbursements for August.
I make a motion that we approve the disbursement for August.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion from Rachel, a second from Matt. All in favor of approving the disbursements for August, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, mayor's report. I guess the only thing I had is, I was going to ask I guess I can do this without voting on it. I was just going to ask the zoning board to call a meeting and elect a chairman. Because the zoning board chairman is the zoning enforcement officer, as Jim has said.
That's not what the ordinance says,
What does the ordinance say? Building inspector?
that they're nominated and appointed by the trustees.
I've been told it was voted on by the zoning board.
It is voted on by the zoning board.
That's what I've been
Read the
told.
zoning ordinance, Brad.
The members to the board were appointed by the trustees. But the chairman of the board has always been elected by the zoning board.
He's talking about the zoning enforcement official. I think, my understanding, historically, the chairman's always been an enforcement agent or the enforcing official, but it's not what the zoning code says.
What does zoning code say?
It says to be elected by the board of trustees.
Everybody's telling me no, so I guess we need
The
to
chairman,
find
the
it.
chairman of the zoning board is elected by the zoning board. The
Okay,
enforcement official, per Corey's statement, is elected by the trustee.
is that the zoning enforcement officer?
Yeah,
Have we ever elected one?
not to my knowledge.
I didn't
Section
think so.
16, administration and enforcement. This code shall be administered and enforced by the zoning enforcement official appointed by the board of trustees of the town of Pitkin, Colorado. Does not say it is the chairman of the board.
Well, then I will put it on next month's agenda to talk about that and pick one, if we can
Now we
find it.
need to talk about that and this whole thing of not having a chairman. I mean, how are you supposed to have a zoning board that doesn't operate with a chairman? We don't have a town council that doesn't
Well-
operate without a mayor, so.
Yes, it's not really a good deal, but being on the zoning board, it's a volunteer job, and nobody really wants to do it. And so, if it could be if you went to everybody and said, "You be the chairman," they might just say, "I'm off." You have to kind of. They've been electing a chairman, kind of, or picking a chairman, kind of for each meeting. If these people were being paid, then you could tell them, "Hey, this is your duty." But that's one thing about running a town with
If
volunteers.
somebody's here trying to get something done, you tell them to go talk to the chairman of the zoning board, who are they supposed to talk to? So I'm saying it's not fair to anybody if they're trying to track something down or figure out. You know, we have two things that are going to come up about vacating alleys. You know, those people would like to know, but who do we talk to? I
Well-
mean, yeah, you can say a zoning board member, but you know, it'd be nice to have a chairman.
I
And
have
it's like
talked.
nobody wants to have the responsibility,
That's pretty much it.
and
Yeah.
I don't think that's a, you know, I want to serve on the zoning board, but I don't want the responsibility of possibly being a chairman. I don't understand it.
It's traditionally been difficult to get people to volunteer for the zoning board.
I understand.
And speaking of that, this is, I guess, my fault. But on the agenda, it says zoning director James Sharpton. That director word is wrong, but it's just on the template that I use for the agenda. And if I don't catch it and take it off, which I didn't catch it, like Stephanie's name is spelt wrong on the template. Well, I was able to catch that and change it, but I did not catch that. It's not supposed to say zoning director, so.
Well, why don't you just make a recommendation at the next zoning meeting that a chairman be elected?
Is
And then we'll hash it out.
that what you just asked?
That's what I just asked, yes.
Okay.
That they, maybe if they, what maybe we could do is, if they pick a chairman, then we could approve it.
No.
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 Well, from what he read,
No.
That's
just
a zoning
for-
enforcement.
zoning
officer.
enforcement
Separate,
officer.
yeah.
Okay, yeah. Because the zoning board has always elected its own chairman,
That's right.
okay?
So
So,
just tell them to elect one the next time they meet.
okay, that's kind of, James,
Yes, I believe it says after the May 1st meeting that the chairman will be elected by the board.
Well,
well,
it's after that, right?
What?
I say it's after that date, so we
Yeah,
should
but
be
it's
good.
coming up too.
well, but I think we need to have
I'm
a
just saying,
chairman.
that's what it says in the book, is that at the May meeting, you elect the chairman,
Okay.
or after the.
Well, that's because I'm assuming that the elections are in April, and then at the May meeting, we usually make all the appointments. So it is saying that that's the time to also pick a chairman. So maybe it's belated, but possibly we ought to get it done. So, okay. Anything under attorney's report?
Yes, Your Honor, one or two small items.
Okay.
First of all, let's see if I have this. Please copy that. I've taken the ordinances and the resolutions that Susie Metzler provided on discs to everyone a couple years ago.
Uh-huh.
And I've simply renamed the documents to reflect somewhat of their contents. So in other words, I've taken the initial name, which would say a year and then a resolution or an ordinance, and then I put a minor blurb behind it because I can only speak for myself, and I suspect anyone else who's ever tried to look something up within the ordinances or the resolutions, it's virtually impossible. So I'm providing that to Sarah, and I would request that she provide that to the Board of Trustees, and if possible, put that on the website. I'm not saying that the titles are perfect. It's pretty short. For example, it might say mill levy or appropriations or budget, and then have the fiscal year in question. But I think that will go a long way in helping folks comb through the various and sundry ordinance and resolutions if they want to look something up.
Okay, is that all?
Well, I think I've mentioned this previously. Oh, first of all, I apologize for my tardiness. I was stuck in traffic. I had no idea there was going to be a traffic stop, and I was there nearly 20 minutes. So my apologies. I've also taken a look again at the public nuisance ordinance and the dangerous animal ordinance, and would respectfully submit that both of those documents probably could use some updating at the board's convenience. That's it for my report.
Okay. Thank you, and thank you for doing that work on the ordinances. Every time I've had to look things up, I've had to call past people to find out what year.
Well, and one other thing that comes to mind as I did this project is that there's a significant likelihood that there are documents that are not on that ordinance and resolution list. And I don't know where those documents are, but perhaps it might be appropriate to send a letter out to past mayors, past clerks, past members of the Board of Trustees, and simply say, if you have any documents, please bring them to the town of Pitkin at their earliest possible convenience. The other thought that I had is that I just received my new ordinances 2016, and I've got a full set of 2015s, and if the board so desired, I would be happy to leave those here so that if anyone ever wanted to look at one of the statutes, they're a year out of date, but there's very few changes. So at the very least, it'd be a very effective and helpful starting point. So I leave that to the board's discretion.
Okay, and some ordinances and resolutions unfortunately could be pigeonholed in the room downstairs, which that's very possible, and something that we have plans to work on. Okay, Commissioner and Community Reports. Anything under building?
Did a sewer inspection tonight and issued a couple permits last week.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Fire Department.
Well, we've been fortunate, I guess. We only went on 4 calls, all from now on.
Okay.
Other than that, it's been quiet.
Okay. Zoning.
We had a zoning meeting and approved a variance. Also, the zoning board requested $500 for the next budget.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
And on the cemetery, which is next, you have the new board members to be elected tonight.
I do, yes.
Agenda, so. And again, the cemetery board requests a $500 budget item. And for some reason, a few years back, the town paid an architect to develop a new map that has everybody's name that's buried in spaces, the lots, blocks, spaces. That map has disappeared, so if anybody could, runs across it, well, we sure would appreciate it, because the one we're working with is the old one.
Okay.
And it'd be nice to have that new map back.
It sure would.
Yeah.
And we need to be more careful about things like that. Okay. Cemetery? Was that cemetery? He gave the same report. Okay, you got that. Environmental health?
I am happy to report that we currently have no overdue inspections. Everything has been taken care of in compliance with our version of number 43. There are 2 systems that are needing repair or replaced, and they're being dealt with currently. Out of the inspections that are due in 2016, the season's not quite over, and we're almost done with all of them. Soon, James, I wanted to comment, James Sharpton has been a great deal of help to me on that, because I gave him a list of names and asked if he could do anything, and he has been doing a lot, and I'm very grateful. Soon there'll be letters to send out to people in town with alternative systems, holding tanks, for example, asking for verification of pumping and copies of records, because this is in keeping with number 43, and I just need to ask for them. Currently, we possibly have 11 holding tank systems that need to provide a little bit of information on what they're doing. And I don't think that our intro to 43, which I guess is Pitkin's number 4 on the OWTS, we address septic tank inspections of every 3 years, but I don't think we addressed how often to do or follow up with the holding tank, for example. It's just something that we might need to look into if you want to set I don't even understand some of these systems, so I don't know if they need to be pumped annually. I don't need or if they never come, if they never need to. I don't know, we have to deal with that. But I have a list that I'll hand you of those 11 systems. I will be requesting information from them, and I am also waiting a legal document drafted by the state verifying that those systems do fall under number 43. It was brought to my attention recently that I perhaps need that document. So I've asked for it, and it will be forthcoming. The computer records indicated there were more systems than are currently exist, and I'm trying to figure out how to clean that up so I don't lose them entirely, but we actually have 30 fewer systems than the numbers would indicate, because some were entered that had no plumbing, no systems, or vacant lots, and that's fine, but if somebody asks like they have before, how many systems do we have in town, I kind of need to know that number. We have 173. That changes every now and then, but right now I think it's around 173. The September 7th conference call from, I think there were 3 people from the state on it. I sent a follow-up email asking for some clarification on a few things. I got an email in return and with clarifications on exactly what they want from us. And I am currently working on a rough draft proposal for the town's response as it pertains to the records that we have available. And that is the second page of this, which I could just turn into the town. And I think, Sarah, did you email that to everybody today? Okay, I may have edited a line or two on that, but basically it's the same.
Did you send that earlier this afternoon?
I think I might have.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. So I got clarification on exactly what it is they want from us, and I noted that in that. So it's something to work on. And also, I requested $300 budget. I certainly don't plan on spending that much, but I know how much trouble it is to need to spend it and not have it in the budget. So just to have it in the budget for postage and whatnot, then that's what I request. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Gayla. Okay, PHCA?
PHCA has put a dumpster on the alley and 7th Street for the public to use. It's not for regular household trash, wood, appliances, electrical, mattresses, or tires. I know that doesn't leave a lot left, but it is there, and PHCA will be paying for that to be emptied weekly or as needed. And also the community center will be open all winter. If anybody wants to have an event, potluck, exercise, they can contact Rachel New for scheduling.
Okay, thank you. Town Hall?
Eddie has a question.
Oh, Eddie, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's all right. I had a question for Gayla.
Oh, okay.
You mentioned 173 systems. Is that septics, or is that septics and holding tanks and?
Oh, great.
Sorry.
No, I think that's systems. The only thing that it does not, I don't remember if I included outhouses on that or not, because there's really nothing you can do with those. But I think it mainly is where there's no plumbing and no system and vacant land. Those were the 30 that I weeded out.
But the 173 incorporates holding tanks.
That would
along with
incorporate the
septic
11
systems.
holding tank
Okay,
alternative system.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any more questions? Okay, Town Hall?
She's not here. She didn't give me any instructions either, so.
Okay, all right. Ditches?
Talked with a gentleman this past week about possibly, and I know Eddie had mentioned about possibly getting Gunnison to come up next summer to use that jet truck to clean out some of the
Yes.
culverts and stuff. I need to kind of firm up some numbers maybe from, he was saying, he had a kind of an idea, he was thinking it was like 200 an hour, so we'll have to be kind of selective about which culverts we're going to clean out. I mean, there's obviously some trouble ones.
Yeah,
But he said due to the size of the culverts here, it won't take very long to do a culvert to clean all the gravel and stuff out.
yeah.
So I need to get a firm number on that so I can give Sarah a budget. And he said they also, a lot of the the culverts and stuff in the ditches in Gunnison, they put a little grate, or they have grates made to go over them to keep grass and debris from going in and creating some of the issues, like when people mow their lawn and everything, it clogs up the culvert. So I'm looking at seeing what we could get made. Something removable, but would keep grass clippings and trash and stuff out of the culverts for next year. So, Sarah, I'll hopefully have a number to you maybe this week.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
So,
Streets, I ran into Lisa just about an hour back, and she said she was gonna start filling potholes next week. So that was her report. Yes,
I don't know if anybody's reported this or not, but at Second and Courts, where there's big rocks around our street sign post,
yeah,
somebody must have hit that really hard, and the street sign is now laying on the ground. Somebody propped it up for a while. I tried to lift it today to
Okay.
do that again, but it needs to be, new post, I think.
I think that's the post that I put up a long time ago, because people were cutting the corner. Isn't that it? Well, they're still
Yeah,
cutting
those
the
rocks
corner.
are big, and I don't know.
That's why I put the rocks there too.
Yeah, I don't know who.
Did that
Back
happen during
in-
the snowplow?
No, it happens sometime in the summer, all of a sudden.
Okay.
So I just
I'll,
thought
I'll
I'd
try,
mention that.
okay, I'll go down there and take a look at it. Okay, thank you. Okay, Parks and Rec,
I have a report, Sarah, she cannot be here tonight. Okay, well, Sarah has completed, the training for playground inspections, and she started doing that. She also has formed a small committee to start working on, the grant in earnest for a new playground. At this point, the committee is just looking into how to set up the budget and getting some preliminary information for the grant.
okay, thank you. Okay, public comments, Candy.
A number of times during meetings, I in particular have asked that the board members speak up because us in the audience cannot hear. Some of us have hearing deficits, and I was wondering if there's any way the board would consider possibly getting microphones like we did with your lights that were donated by an individual. If possibly there's some way we could do a sound system. Several people have commented that they're not able to hear as well.
Why don't, if I may comment,
Sure.
why don't we budget that for next year and go buy one? And I'll get Sarah the dollar amount we need to plan for.
Well, I guess it would make a lot more sense to, if we're gonna talk about it, to at least have a dollar figure first.
Yeah,
So, I will wait to put anything on the, agenda till I hear about money.
May I make a comment?
Okay? Down to,
Rachel,
yes. Oh, I didn't see. Rachel.
Just a thought that perhaps we could put it on the agenda to remind us that we're working towards that, and we can always table it.
Okay, I've got it written on here. I can put it on there.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. No more questions. Okay. Down to old business. Discuss and vote on short-term rental survey. Do we know anything about that yet?
No, I have not been able to find anything less expensive than the National Research Center, which was, as reported last month, was over $3,000 for the most basic
Yeah.
reporting. So, I think you can just take it off the agenda
Okay.
unless there's, it can always be put back on, right, Steve?
You can always send me an email and say, put it back on there.
Yeah.
You can always.
So at this point, I don't have any good options.
Okay, well, we're kind of over budget for this year, so,
That's what, yeah, obviously.
Okay, do we have anything on the contract for Jim Starr as municipal judge?
Mr. Mayor, would you pass these that way, please? And I will try to speak louder and enunciate better, but if I'm not clear in the back, throw something at me or wave, or it's important that y'all hear me, or all of us, so I think it's a great point that Candy made. Mr. Mayor, in response to comments from board member Chris Nasso at the last meeting, I looked at the ordinance that was signed by Mayor Pro Tem Susie Metzler, and then I reviewed the meeting minutes from June of 15, July of 15, and August of 15. I have attached the signed ordinance, the minutes for June, July, and August of 2015, together with the documents that I had brought with me to the meeting in August of 15. Based upon my review of the June 9, 2015 meeting, and you will take a look on the second page of the minutes, I've highlighted the area in question addressing the municipal court ordinance. There were two versions. Ordinance A, which was to wait for an incident that required a judge, then find a judge, and the Ordinance B, which was to hire a judge to be on hand and pay a monthly salary. These notes are pretty clear that the version that was selected was Ordinance A, which was to wait for the incident, wait for an incident and then find a judge. And then I would point your attention to the final 4 pages, which were the ordinance versions that were brought to the meeting that day for Susie Metzler's signature. And those are clearly not the version that was actually signed. So I would submit to you, Mr. Mayor, that the wrong version was signed and that the appropriate course of action is to enact an ordinance repealing Ordinance Number 3, Series 2015. And then I would submit that the board can take such action as it deems appropriate in terms of enacting an ordinance to replace it.
Okay. So we have to, of course, put that on the agenda for the next meeting.
That is correct, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
And all I can say is thank you to Chris Nassau for pointing that out. This type of thing happens. It's unfortunate, but Mr. Nassau caught it, and we'll get it fixed.
Okay.
I'm just curious, Jim, will you at the next meeting, will you have some sort of draft of this ordinance?
No, I'll probably email it to you by the end of the week.
Well, that's fine, just as long as you have something
Yeah.
to discuss, an actual document.
Okay. All right. Okay. Down to new business is to vote on a resolution 2016-13 CIRSA loss control standards. I think Sarah.
Yes. So I have this book from CIRSA, and basically loss control standards are just different policies that they like to have in place to protect everyone. For a municipality of this size and with one part-time employee, I've been in contact with CIRSA, and they are suggesting that we have a harassment policy, termination procedures, and those could be a part of a personnel policy. I'm waiting to hear back from somebody at CIRSA. She says that she has kind of a template that we can look at, and that way we don't have to start from nothing. There's also some training that is required of town employees, which is me. So basically what we're doing is we're agreeing that I'm going to do this training, which I will. It's online training, and that we will implement these personnel policies.
What was the second one you said? You said a harassment policy and a
Termination procedures.
termination procedure.
Yeah.
We need a motion and a second to open the conversation on this.
I make a motion that we discuss and vote on resolution 2016 number 13, CIRSA loss control standards.
Okay, got a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, I have a second from Matt.
Pretty straightforward.
It's
Yeah, I
pretty
don't think there's much
straightforward.
discussion.
Okay,
Is there any cost associated with this?
No. No, if we choose not to do this, we will lose our insurance though. So I guess there's a cost to not participating in the loss control standards.
No.
But
So
no, there's
is
no
that
additional
the-
cost.
is that the papers we have to sign?
No, that's different.
That's different, okay. Okay, well, we have a motion and a second. All in favor of adopting this resolution
I
20?
think that was a motion just to open the discussion. We
I
made-
said
Okay.
discuss and vote.
And vote, yeah, she said vote.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
Do
Okay,
we need to read the resolution?
I can read it if you want it to be
I
read.
think
Okay.
we need to
Okay.
read it.
Resolution of commitment to the SRSA loss control standards. Whereas the town of Pitkin has applied for admission into the SRSA workers' compensation pool, and whereas pursuant to the SRSA bylaws, SRSA members are required to comply with the loss control standards established by the SRSA Board of Directors, and whereas the town of Pitkin wishes to declare its commitment to the timely establishment and implementation of the applicable loss control standards, now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Trustees of the town of Pitkin, the town of Pitkin hereby adopts the loss control standards as established by and as from time to time amended by the SRSA Board of Directors. Personnel shall take such actions as are required to implement with the time or timetables established by SRSA the portions of said standards that are made applicable to the town of Pitkin by SRSA. The town of Pitkin hereby acknowledges that its failure to timely implement said standards may result in the non-renewal or cancellation of SRSA coverages, expulsion from SRSA, and such other actions as may be required or permitted by SRSA bylaws and policies. This is effective the 22nd day of August. That was when we started our policy. Introduced, read, and adopted this 13th day of September 2016.
okay, thank you. Okay, we have a motion and we have a second to vote on this. So, all in favor of resolution 2016-14, oops, I read that wrong. 2016-13, SRSA loss control standards, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Now we're down to the resolution 2016-14, elected or appointing officials, workers' compensation laws. Did you,
Yes. Do you want to open it up for discussion?
okay. I guess we need a motion and a second to open this up.
I'll move that we talk about Series 2016 Resolution 14
Have a motion, do I have a second to open this up?
and vote.
Okay, and vote.
I'll second it.
Okay, I got a second from Corey. Oh, okay, Sarah, do you want to
Yes.
enlighten us?
So, as a town, we have the option to either cover our unpaid boards through workers' compensation, or we can cover them through the volunteer accident and medical plan. Both are fairly inexpensive. However, if we choose to cover our unpaid boards through the VAMP, which is the volunteer program, it's about a 60% savings. In order to do that, we have to do that by resolution, and the members of those boards have to sign a paper saying that they agree not to be covered under workers' compensation, but they will be covered under the VAMP policy. So we just need to get that started. It has to be turned into the state 45 days prior to beginning coverage. So we're just starting that process now. And I think there was a question.
What are the fundamental differences between the two?
The cost.
That's the only difference.
Mhm.
Otherwise, they provide the same thing.
Yes.
Thank you.
So we're doing this to get a better cost on our insurance.
That's correct. And,
Okay.
you know, the reason some people choose not to do it is just because there is some paperwork, but I think if we just get started with it, we will have it done in plenty of time to get it filed, and it will be no problem.
Okay. Are there any more questions?
Brad has a question.
Yes.
The one that we are going to use to cover
Yes.
this, do we have that policy in effect today?
We do. That was previously used to cover this board, but that's actually not allowed because you're not a completely unpaid board. So what they've done is, since the town had already paid for it for the year, we still have that coverage, and it's just kind of been transferred over for the remainder of the year. I'm not sure exactly how that works, the legality of that. That's just what the Sorcerer representatives have told me that we can do for the rest of this year. However, for next year, we have to do the paperwork.
We'll have two policies.
Yes.
A workman's comp policy
Yes.
that covers this board,
Correct.
and then,
And
the other.
yes, and the VAMP will cover the zoning board and the cemetery board, and also our commissioners. Sorry, I left out the commissioners. They'll also be covered.
We gotta add commissioners here.
Yes.
Okay, are there any other questions? Okay, we have a motion and a second to talk about it and also to vote, so we can go ahead and vote. All in favor of resolution?
Gotta read it.
Oh, that's right, I forgot. Thought I had my bases covered.
Okay. Resolution providing that certain elected and/or appointed officials of the town of Pitkin shall be deemed not to be employees within the meaning of the workers' compensation laws. Whereas CRS Section 8-40-202(1)(a), is that a 1)(b), permits the town of Pitkin to opt not to include certain elected and appointed officials under the town of Pitkin's workers' compensation coverage. And whereas such officials must not receive any compensation for services rendered as such other than reimbursement of actual expenses, and whereas said option may be exercised as to any category or combination of categories of such officials, and whereas said option may be exercised for any policy year by the Town Board of Trustees by the filing of a statement with the Division of Workers' Compensation of the Colorado Department of Labor and Employment no less than 45 days before the start of the policy year for which the option is to be exercised, now therefore be it resolved by the Town Board of Trustees of the Town of Pitkin, effective with the policy year starting on January 1, 2017, the following categories of elected and/or appointed officials who receive no compensation for service rendered as such, other than reimbursement of actual expenses, shall be excluded from the definition of employee for the purposes of workers' compensation coverage and shall not be covered under the Town of Pitkin's workers' compensation coverage. This is going to be the zoning board and the cemetery board. Not the commissioners, because they would not have been considered employees since they're not boards. So they can always be covered under VAMP. The Town of Pitkin's clerk shall transmit a copy of this resolution to each official who is a member of the bodies identified in Section 1 above. The Town of Pitkin's clerk shall transmit a copy of this resolution to the Colorado Intergovernmental Risk Sharing Agency, that's CIRSA, our insurance company, and to the Division of Workers' Compensation of the Colorado Department of Labor and Employment. Introduced, read, and adopted this 13th day of September 2016.
Okay, are there any other questions? Okay, are we ready to vote on this? Okay, we've already got a motion and we've got a second. All in favor of resolution 2016-14, elected or appointed officials, workers, compensation laws, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, do I have to sign something? Yes, please. Okay. Because we don't want to forget this. Okay. Okay, now we're down to discuss and vote on court pro tem. I believe we,
Yes, we made the motion.
okay. Is she here?
Yes.
Okay, would you like to stand up? Maybe would you like to say a few words or qualifications or?
I just wanted to volunteer. She needs somebody.
Okay. Does anybody want to ask her any questions, or if somebody wants to volunteer, it's kind of hard to turn them down or drill them too much.
I think if Mrs. Balls is literate, she would be pretty wrong.
Do what?
I'm sure she's literate. I think that's what she would
Yeah. Oh, okay. So we would need a motion then, a second to accept her or talk about it, or?
I'll make a motion to, elect Renee Balch as the clerk pro tem.
Okay, I have a motion. Was that a second?
Second.
I have a second from Matt. Any other questions? Before we vote? Okay. All in favor of Renee Balch for clerk pro tem, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay.
Abstain.
Abstain. That would be a good move. Okay, thank you. Okay, discuss and vote on assistant building inspector. And is he here?
Yes.
Now I lost the name.
Doug.
Doug Bauer. Is Doug Bauer here?
Yes.
Would you like to state qualifications or?
Yep, my name's Doug Bauer. I live at 406 State Street. I've been a building inspector for 39 years in the private sector. I own my own company, residential and commercial inspections. I was a firefighter for 27 years, did building inspections and investigations. So I feel like I'm pretty well qualified for the job. I just figured it's something that I can help this town out with and maybe work with Rand and learn some from him.
Okay, are you, now, you're not a full-time resident, is that correct, or?
Yes, I am now.
You are now?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I have been for about almost a year.
Okay, all right.
And I'm certified through ASHI and NACHI and the International Commerce of Building Officials, and then through the fire department several years ago. So I have several certifications if anybody needs any of that stuff.
And I guess one thing that I would like to point out is that the buildings inspector does get paid a little bit of money, but there's no way to pay an assistant building inspector.
And that's fine.
Okay, well, I just wanted to clarify that. Does anybody have any questions of Doug that they would like to ask? Okay, are there going to be any other volunteers? Jim, did you have something?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to simply point out that there is a resolution appointing a deputy town clerk and/or a town clerk pro tem. That's resolution number 3, series 2002. I don't believe that there's any such resolution to have a assistant building inspector. Certainly, it would be very easy to put together. I just point that out for your consideration.
Okay, how should we proceed?
Generally, if you've got someone that's obviously very well qualified that wants to help, say yee, and have a resolution at the next meeting.
Okay. Okay, and would you draw up the
Yes, Mr.
resolution? Okay. Okay, are there any other questions? Anybody like to ask Doug anything? Okay, then I guess we have a motion and we have a second. Well, not yet. Okay, I need a motion and a second.
Make a motion to accept Doug Bauer as the town
Okay,
assistant
have
building
a
inspector.
motion from Chris.
What? Am I confused? Should we have a resolution first?
Well, he said that we could go ahead and do this
Did
and
he?
have the resolution at the next meeting.
Okay.
And I would only submit that before he does anything, that Sarah submits his name to CERS as a volunteer. That's really more nuts and bolts that I'm concerned about than I am having the resolution.
Okay, I think we had a motion and waiting on a second. Oh, and we got a second, okay? All in favor of appointing Doug Bauer as Assistant Building Inspector, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay. Let's see, where are we now? Okay. Now, they schedule a work session to write STR rules and enforcement of state regulation 43. That is a result of our conference call with the state, and I had a meeting with Jim and asked him how we should proceed, and this is what he recommended.
Mr. Mayor, my thoughts are that a lot of these issues have been kind of on the front burner for a while without any resolution. I would respectfully suggest that a work session be set on a Saturday if possible. Maybe you schedule the first 2 hours without the attorney present so that it can be more about, okay, what do we need to do in terms of addressing the issue with the state with regards to Reg 43 and crafting a response to their inquiries. The reason I say 2 hours without me is A, it saves money, but B, that way the goal would be more to have a neutral dialogue where people are giving and taking. Certainly it would be a public meeting, and I would suggest that on that day I would bring my printer and computer and have the goal of leaving the building with something that everyone's on the same page about in writing. Those are my thoughts. The other thought that I had on this issue is to request a recommendation from the Board of Trustees with regards to the complaint that was received in July of this year with regards to, I believe, 724 State Street. So I think that's the appropriate step, is to receive a recommendation from that board. So those are the issues. I think that there are a lot of really smart people in this room, and I think that it's time to simply lock the doors and make a resolution and get this thing put to bed.
Okay, I definitely agree. I'd like to get past this somehow, but we're not going to do it without putting something down on paper. So, when would we like to do this? Gayla?
I just have a comment because I had emailed, like I said earlier in my report, to have them clarify just exactly what they wanted us to do. And that is not something that the state is concerned about. They're just, and maybe I should have read that part of my report. I didn't read it. But no. I mean, I'm not saying that you don't need to have this meeting. That's fine.
Yeah.
I'm not arguing about that. I'm just saying that as far as exactly what they want from us, that's not really it. They want us to, they're specifically concerned with F, change of use or modified use, lengthy occupation of greater than 2 people per bedroom that could increase flows to the OWTS beyond the intended design. And so in my response suggestions, which I'm not an attorney, and I know Jim would have legal suggestions on this, but my responses would be to examine the records of the system designs to verify how many bedrooms are for occupancy limits that the OWTS can support. That would have to be done on all dwellings in Picken and possibly owner volunteer. The state emphasized once again that they do not want to single out short-term rentals. This is not a short-term rental issue. If Picken wants to make it that, that's Picken's choice, but the state is not saying that. then the environmental health agent could send letters to all system owners in Pitkin asking for that information, as most records are not available to the town. First, Williams Engineering could be consulted to see how many records of systems that they might have filed in their office. They do have a lot of records on systems here. And then my second response point that he pointed out, provide the state with a procedure that Pitkin may implement to evaluate any site with a modified use that could increase flows to the OWTS beyond the intended design. It's not the intent to single out rental properties, although rental properties do have rental occupancy agreements that are easy to examine. To the best of my knowledge, I believe that all rental properties in Pitkin have occupancy agreements that the renters sign. The difficulty will lie in monitoring non-rental dwellings. That is kind of a sticky wicket. But I did ask for the state to please clarify exactly what they wanted from us, and he did send that email with clarification, and this is what it was.
Well, what started this whole chain of events was the complaint about 724 State. That has to be addressed now, because that's what started this whole thing. And I think trying to expand this to include every house in town, to tell somebody that they can't have family members come over and stay, that's not enforceable. Not in any way. I don't think there's any town in this country that says you can't have some family members come for the weekend and stay.
No, I agree.
Rachel.
I submit that we schedule a work session and we discuss.
Yeah, that's Candy.
I would like to request that the board consider a different day other than Saturday. I know there's several in this room that go to church on Saturday, and some work on Saturdays, or if you're going to do it Saturday, maybe do it in the evening so that you've got board members and others that could attend.
Okay. Yes.
Oh, please answer the question first. I just,
Yes.
I agree with what she's saying, but my question was, for the work session, would you be accepting written proposals or ideas from the public as well, or just from the board?
Well, we would accept things. We would accept things that are written, but the work session would be a public meeting, and the board would work on it, and we would take questions at the end of it. But I don't think that if we have the public to kind of interact, we will probably be there for days.
So is it possible then that there is a way to get a proposal to the members of the board
Send
work
it-
session?
Send it to Sarah.
Okay.
Yes, and we will look at it, certainly. But Eddie?
First, my recommendation for a date would be prior to the next town meeting.
It has to be, yes.
No, I'm talking about just prior to that afternoon,
Oh, I see.
earlier that afternoon. And then also, I believe we need to split these two things up. I believe that we've received a letter from the state that we need to respond to and get that put together. That is entirely separate from the STR stuff. We need to get the response to the state taken care of first.
Well, I stuck the STR on there just in case somebody wanted to put it in there and we don't have it on the agenda. Oops, we can't do that. I was just trying to cover bases. That's all I was trying to do. You know.
Mr. Mayor, if I can comment?
Yes.
I think that Mr. Balch's comment is very well spoken. They are separate issues.
Okay.
And bearing that in mind, I just think that it would be very useful, and I would certainly want to hear from all the board members. It would be very useful to hash some of these issues out, but they are separate issues.
Then I guess we would have to tackle Reg 43 first, because that's what brought this whole thing up, and the state is waiting to hear from us.
I was going to say, my understanding is based off the phone call, They want to know how are we going to handle expanded uses in Pitkin as a whole,
Yes.
not how are we going to handle septic systems for short-term rentals. And so they do need to be separate. And then maybe, I don't know, I'm just thinking out loud, maybe they're just two agenda items for the work session. One's response to, the state water board's category, and then another one is short-term rental regulations or whatever.
So, yeah, you're saying it should be 2 different meetings?
No, I'm just saying it could be just two different
Just-
agenda items
okay.
to clarify, because,
I
I asked
agree.
them on the meeting, I was at, what exactly are you looking for? And they want to know how we're gonna, how we are handling expanded use.
Okay. Okay. We can have a meeting with 2 agenda items, yes. Because the STR rules are gonna have to be addressed at some point. We just can't keep kicking the can. We have to talk. It's something that has to be brought up. It's not gonna go away. Chris?
I just have a question for Jim, clarification, because I think when you were talking about this item a minute ago, I came up with 3 things that you felt like we needed to craft a response to Ramon Reed concerning his complaint on 724 State Street.
I believe I suggested that the zoning board needs to make
Okay.
a recommendation to this board.
Okay, so we have, Eddie has suggested the Monday afternoon prior to the next meeting.
No, I was gonna say the Tuesday. If the meeting's on Tuesday,
Oh, I
we
see,
would have it prior to
the
the
same day.
town board meeting.
I make a motion to hold a work session prior to the next regularly scheduled town council meeting to discuss short-term rental rules and our response to the state inquiry.
Okay. Just because I don't have a calendar in front of me, it'll be the 14th,
It'll be the 11th.
the 11th? Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Sorry, I was basing my timing off my hunting season. It starts Saturday, not Wednesday.
Okay.
Sorry, hunting calendar's off.
So it would be on the 14th then?
11.
The 11th? Okay, deal.
I will second that motion.
Do we have a time?
Can I ask you the same question?
Sure.
Do you anticipate having to do any work from when we end this meeting, the workshop, to before the town meeting?
I will certainly have to review the zoning code and review the ordinance as it was previously drafted.
But whatever we decide in this meeting, will you have enough time to prepare for the town meeting?
Well, I mean, it won't be on the agenda, right?
Well,
I mean,
I don't know.
No,
Are you wanting the outcome of this meeting to be on next month's agenda, is the question.
yes. And the idea is I'll bring a computer and a printer, and then that way we don't have to have it finalized and published prior to that meeting. We simply have to have something that can be read and then subsequently published as appropriate.
Can we?
Eddie has a question.
Sure. Eddie?
My understanding is this meeting is really, we need to sit down and draft a response to the state. There doesn't need to be an ordinance or regulation or anything with that. We just need to draft a response to the state, right?
And that needs to be done by the end of the year.
Right.
So.
But I mean, that to me is
That's correct. We've
the
got
crux
time.
of what this meeting is to put together a response to the state. Right? I mean,
Yes.
so that part of it, there doesn't really need to be any resolutions or ordinances or anything else with that.
That's
So-
absolutely correct, Eddie.
Okay.
And timing wise, we have till the end of the year. So if we make a real good faith effort at crafting some type of response in early October, we've got time.
And along with that, don't we want to have approval from the state on whatever we forward to them before we really try to craft any short-term rental rules?
That I can't speak to, but certainly I would want to reach out to the state before providing them a response and say, here's our draft, what do you think? You know, I'm sure that you've done that in the past where you get what you got to go there and you reach out and say, hey, is this gonna work?
But if you don't have some kind of response from the state saying, okay, yep, we think what you're looking at putting together is going to work. If we draft a short-term rental regulations or rules based upon what we're gonna forward to the state without any response back from the state, we could be turning around and doing the whole thing again, correct?
I don't know that the state's gonna wanna get too deeply involved. They just wanna know how is Pitkin preventing unreasonable changes of use. And I think there was mention about advertisements not saying, in the SDR context, 16 beds available for a 3-bedroom home, something along those lines. But I think that certainly if the state, their response is to put a kibosh on all Pitkin's efforts, that would certainly, in all likelihood, have an impact on the other issue as well.
Okay, now, if we have this work session, then we have to bring that over to the regular town meeting. Will there be a way to notice it, to give adequate notice?
Sure.
Okay,
I think you just go ahead and put it on next month's agenda.
Okay.
We need to discuss the outcome of the workshop.
okay,
Okay, and you gotta put that on before we ever have the workshop.
yes, that is correct. So do we have a time for this?
You don't think 5 o'clock, is that enough time, 2 hours prior to the?
Well, people might want to have supper maybe in between meetings.
4 to 6.
4 to 6, and then that would give time for a break and
Okay, that's October 11th. Okay, at 4.
May I
That's if we vote on it.
suggest that it be starting at 4 o'clock and then running till it's finished, or 7 o'clock? That way, if you need more time, you've got the flexibility of the hour.
Let's just put a beginning time on it then.
Very good, Mr. Mayor.
That way we don't have to end it on that exact minute if we're in the middle of something.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes. Okay. I guess we still need a what?
We need a second.
Yes. We got to do it. We have a motion. We need a second.
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor of having a work session October 11th at 4 p.m. to work out a response to the state's conference call on Reg 43, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Mr. Mayor, just out of clarification, the way that you called the question, you specifically excluded short-term rentals, which is fine, but I simply want to bring that to your attention.
Okay. So
in a
does
work
that mean
session,
that
can't we discuss?
we're not gonna
doesn't-
probably vote on any policy at this
Uh,
meeting? It's just a work session.
I thought
Yeah, I made the motion.
he made the
Discuss
motion
Right.
with 2 points.
And I second.
Second.
And then the way he called the vote was different. That's why I'm just
All right,
making
well,
that
let's recall the
clarification.
vote.
Let's do it again in case somebody wants to I don't want it said we can't even talk about this.
I do have a question. Do you have to vote in second to hold a work session?
No.
Can't you just plan a work session?
Yes.
So do we need to do this again?
No.
I don't think so.
All right.
Because we're not gonna vote on anything.
Right.
And we're not gonna, we're just gonna work something out so we can vote on it. Oh, okay. Now we have to talk about and vote on vacating a portion of 7th Street to Fred and Alicia Archuleta. They sent me an email and then I went and talked to them. I think everybody knows where Fred and Alicia live. Right, 7th Street crosses Main and then it goes up against the hillside, and they own a couple lots on the other side of it. So it's between, they own the property on both sides. And I'd like to ask, before we talk about this, I'd like to ask the attorney if we have the legal right to vacate roads and give them to people. Is this something we have the right to
I can only
do?
presume so because there's a number of examples of it having been done previously.
Okay. You mean in Pitkin?
Yes,
Well,
Mr. Mayor.
And
We've
other
done a lot of
municipalities.
And if you get a chance to look at what I provided Sarah today, there were a number of them that specifically say vacating alleyway or vacating alley or vacating road. So there are numerous examples of it having been done in Pitkin.
We haven't done it though for a long time.
My brain says like 2003, but I don't.
The
know
only,
what it is
since I've been involved, the only thing that we've done is to fix problems like where the road comes into town, it was not on the platted road bed, and at the other end where it went into Forest Service, it was also not on the platted road bed. So we did a little bit of swapping around so we didn't have to move the road because, yes.
My only comment, Mr. Mayor, is that A, I think you have the legal right to do so, and B, before this board were to act, I would want to hear a recommendation from the zoning folks.
Mhm.
But I certainly think it's well within your authority.
Well, I know just a couple questions. I've talked to the zoning board and they said that they can't vote to do it, but they could give a recommendation, is what they could do. So,
That's what I'm suggesting.
Matt, did you?
My concern about all this is you start doing this and it's gonna be, there's gonna be.
At the next meeting,
I'm sorry.
there will be a line of people clear out to Main Street wanting roads vacated. And once you vacate one, you have to vacate them all.
That's my understanding.
Eddie?
I disagree with the statement you just made. Steve.
Well, you can
That's-
disagree
that's
all you
not-
want.
That's not true, and having worked for multiple municipalities in the past,
Yeah.
and having dealt with this issue, that's not true.
Well,
It's a case-by-case basis.
people in Pitkin will not see it that way. Chris?
I'm gonna try to bring an end to this discussion just because we're not following protocol according to our
Okay.
own ordinance.
Okay.
Because all this stuff needs to be presented to the town clerk, the zoning board, and then come to us.
Okay. If that's,
So I don't know why we're spending all this time
okay,
discussing.
that suits. I've talked with the zoning board. They did not tell me that. So, okay. So that's so.
I make a motion to table the agenda item to discuss and vote on vacating the north portion of 7th Street to the Archuletas until such time as we've heard from the zoning board.
Well, do we even have to vote on that?
To table, I guess there was never,
Because we apparently did not follow proper
okay,
protocol. So I guess we don't have to do that.
okay.
I guess I'll just tell them to contact the zoning board and we'll take it from there. Okay. Now we're back on the pay schedule for the clerk treasurer. Okay, this is ordinance 2016-3 to approve the pay schedule for the clerk treasurer.
Was this read at the special meeting?
It's,
Not at the special meeting.
no, we
Okay.
didn't.
So,
Has it been read? I thought it had.
It was read and it was
And
voted
if
on.
it was
We
published?
just- No, it wasn't published
Wasn't
because there
published.
wasn't a final draft for the board to review. So that's what's supposed to be happening tonight, is the board
Okay.
is to review the final draft
Yeah.
and approve for publishing.
yeah, this is the what Sarah provided, and there was a typo on it, so I changed it. And I put a blank line at the end to provide a date that can be written in.
Is that different from what we received in the email?
Okay, I just didn't have that right there. So we can use either version, there's just a typo on that one, that's all.
Now, this is just a vote to publish.
Correct.
So is it possible if somebody finds changes that they want to make later, that they can be changed and republished?
Yes, no, you don't need to republish it, Mr. Mayor.
Just
You
make
publish it-
changes.
You publish it by title,
That's what I thought. I want to make
and
sure.
as long as it's not night and day from what's read, you should be
Okay.
good to go to approve, subject to
Oh,
some
okay.
tweaks.
So everybody will have a chance to take this home and read through it.
Mr. Mayor, this is virtually identical to
Yeah,
what
I know.
Sarah's already provided.
I know it is, but,
So I think that you can call a vote to publish.
okay. Any, are there any questions on it? Anybody want to talk about it? Or we need a motion and a second.
I'll make a motion to discuss or to publish ordinance number 3, series 2016.
This is to vote to
publish.
to publish. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, so are there any more questions? Okay, we have a vote to publish.
May I make a comment, Mr. Mayor?
Sure you can.
The document that I just provided you has a blank at the end of the paragraph numbered 3, and referring to Ms. Gibbs' document she handed out. Sarah put down May 10th, 2016, that's the day she was appointed.
Okay.
And so I would submit to you that blank should be filled with May 10th, 2016, and that will be the version that will be signed by the mayor.
Okay, I have a motion and I have a second to publish ordinance 2016-3 to approve pay schedule for clerk treasurer. All in favor, signify by.
Nice question.
Okay,
Okay.
I was trying to avoid this.
I know,
No,
but I just,
no,
it's
it's good.
It's an
Questions
easy
are good.
question. Okay. Item 2 says we're gonna pay Sarah overtime at a rate of $20 per hour. My question is, who approves and authorizes the overtime?
She's going to keep track of her time.
Okay.
So I
Okay.
do keep track of all my hours. We can make those public.
No,
We
we
can do
don't.
whatever we need to do to.
I just
not
think
get there.
if you think you're gonna go over 40, you gotta go ask the mayor, we're gonna go on overtime. And just have him approve it. Someone has to approve.
Well,
May I make a comment, Mr. Mayor?
sure you can.
Brad, overtime's a term of art, and
Okay,
it's specific to the amount of money one gets paid, and it's based upon number of hours per week or per month. And this is not construed as overtime. And so I
okay.
just want to clarify that because
All
it's
right.
important.
I just think someone needs to approve her going onto overtime.
Or
Now, it may not be,
Well,
past
it-
40 hours.
Additional
Exceeding
hours.
40
yeah,
hours per
if
month.
she sees she's gonna go over 40 hours, I think she needs to tell somebody. Is the only thing I'm asking.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
So in such a case, as I think that I'm going to be going over 40 hours, am I just telling somebody just
Yeah,
because?
yeah.
Because
It-
if I'm not done with
Yeah,
stuff, I still need to do it.
yeah, just tell somebody I'm gonna have to go over 40 this month.
okay,
Okay,
we can do that.
all right? And
Okay.
it is not, for Jim's clarification, it's not pertinent to this. I just don't want Sarah being criticized at some point in time that she went over 40 hours. She needs to be able to turn to somebody and said, she authorized it.
Okay,
And since we don't have a staff, that's gotta be one of us, and I pick you,
okay.
okay?
So if she just sends me an email, says she has to work over, and
Yeah.
I say, okay.
Yeah,
Or if I say no, then I'll say Brad will have to take over.
well, you'll have to.
Yes, I understand. Okay, any other Any other questions? Okay.
That's a good point.
I have a motion and I have a second to publish ordinance 2016-3 to approve pay schedule for clerk treasurer. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, and this will have to be voted again at the next meeting. Okay, now we're down to town restrooms. I believe we had a committee that was going to look into that. Have they got anything to report back?
If you'll hang on just a minute, I'll
Can
provide
you
you the
remind me who was
information
on the
I...
committee?
It was Pete Olson, Ralph Bush, and
And
Ed.
Eddie.
While I'm doing this, Pete, do you have anything you want?
Well, Sarah provided us with the information on the porta potty rentals, and based upon that, it appears in that time frame, late June and early August, 5 or 6 weeks, the total usage was about 1,900 gallons of waste, based upon the capacity of the porta potties and all that. The Forest Service uses a guideline of 100 gallons would equate to 1,500 uses if it was just a vault toilet. So if you're looking at vault toilets, you probably need a couple 1,000-gallon vaults, one male, one female. I think Eddie's got some information on what that would cost, and then I think Ralph has been working on getting a cost estimate for a septic system, and then the committee has to kind of look into potential locations, and then the council's going to have to look at the cost and figure out what you want to do about it. That's kind of where we're at.
So to follow up on what Pete said, from what Sarah provided, the town paid $2,460 for the porta potties for this year, and that was from June 27th through August 9th. So a little over a month usage. What I did is I sent out a couple of requests for quotes just to get some pricing on buildings. I've got one back so far from companies called CTX Concrete. So what I did is just a concrete precast building. They come in, set it. This one is actually a two-person, so it's a double vault. Mm-hmm. And for them to deliver it to Pitkin, it's $44,950.
Was that a one-holer?
That's a two. That's a two-person with two vaults with 2,000. So two 1,000-gallon vaults. Those are ABS lined. They said they can actually do the excavation. The excavation would be an additional $3,200. So for a total of $48,150. That's the first and only quote I've received so far.
And those would, of course, those are vaults and would have to be pumped.
That's correct. And so with that, I put together a little estimate based on the information that I've got from Smaltz on previous septic pumping and stuff. Generally, they charge about 3 hours to come out and pump a septic system at $125 an hour. So you're looking at roughly $375 for that. They typically charge 18 cents per gallon. So what I did based on two 1,000-gallon vaults, so having 1,750 gallons of waste to be pumped, that comes out to $315. And then they also have a gate fee of $35. So you're looking at about $725 per pumping.
That would be.
If it's about 3/4 full.
Okay.
And that's based on this year's numbers, so of course those can change.
Okay. And I
Repeat that last number.
$725.
I talked to Gary Wingen while he was still here, because he's good at grant writing. I think we need to at least look into getting a grant. Susan.
Well, I remember that when the PHCA built the community center, you'll remember the design of it has a door to the outside of that hallway that has the restrooms, and another door that locks to the main building.
Yes.
And I know that the town has been giving them money for heating the last couple of winters. It seems to me to make an agreement with them to be able to use those restrooms and have that door unlocked and have someone every 2 or 3 days to go clean and check on them, and, you know, give them extra money for helping with maintenance of the septic. I feel that that would turn out to be a lot cheaper, and they're already there, and you don't have to figure out where, that's what those were designed for.
Yes, I understand that. Well, and I guess a question that I had is, where did all these people come from? I guess the way that I might see it is people who say went to the Silver Plume and bought gas and bought food. Should they use the facilities there, or did they go to the town outhouses? How did that work? I mean, where did these were these customers of the Silver Plume, or were these just people that wandered in? Where did all these people come from?
Some of it was Fireman's Day, Picking Day,
Yeah.
street dance, various things.
I know there was no gatekeeper. Yeah,
If-
Candy.
Well, I'd just like to comment that in addition to all that was collected in the porta potties, the museum was open for public restroom use. Sadly, people decided that the Picken Hotel would be a good place to go to the bathroom. So Lynn Pope had to deal with that. We have a number of people that just pull up, they come in the store, they go to the bathroom, and they never buy a thing. That's okay. But it's not just Silver Plume customers. I'd like to make that clear.
Well, okay, I'm just throwing this out because
Right,
I want to
I
know.
understand.
And I'm not saying that we do not need this. Yeah, Kathy.
Well, we have to take into account too that we have Freedom Day, and we have families and more families and friends of families that come here for Freedom Day as well. It's not just the hunting season and other things, the trails and what have you. There are people who just simply wander the town, just out exploring.
Yeah, and I'm trying to, what I would like to do is to try to find a way to get some grant money to pay for this so the town doesn't have to just write a check. Yes.
Mr. Mayor, with all due respect, it would seem to me that both a problem and a solution have already been presented. Rather than continuing to walk around the barn looking for the door, why don't we go with what Susie suggested and use something's already existing rather than wasting time, money, effort to create something additional?
Well,
Why spend
okay.
money on something we don't need?
That is a very good point, except the town does not own that building.
But the town has been providing for heat, and couldn't we consider a negotiation with the PHCA regarding resources already available?
We could.
Rather than going down a hairy-carry road that really is quite unnecessary. I, for one, as the owner of the lodge at the other end of town, buy a lot of toilet paper for public butts. And here's the thing, I don't mind, but if I'm walking around town at a dance or something, am I to go all the way back to my lodge to use the toilet? If the town has a public event at the Newcomb Center, I mean, it's not a huge town for crying out loud. Everybody can make it to the community center and use the restroom. I just think we don't need to make it complicated with a grant and a bunch of talk, and we already have a solution. Can we use that as a viable option?
Eddie?
Well, I think back to where we're going to be talking about Regulation 43, we need to certify what kind of capacity there is for those restrooms before we say, yes, we can use that. So that's part of, I think, what Pete and I and Ralph are trying to work on. So all we were trying to do tonight was not say this is the solution, but these are a couple of things that we found out so far. We're going to be working towards coming up with providing something for discussion. But right now, this is just some very early input as to a couple things that we can look at.
Is the information already available? I mean, when that facility was built, it has a capacity. Is that something that Gala has available for us already?
I don't think Gala has it, but.
We'll have to, that's something that we'll have to look into, and we have to talk to the PHCA. They might say, no, this has been mentioned, in the past, and it didn't go over well. We'll have to talk to them. Corey?
So, Eddie, you were mentioning like a drop-in vault. Did y'all do any research in having a septic system put in to support it?
I think Ralph's working on some numbers
Yeah,
for
Ralph.
that, but hasn't got them yet.
Ralph, I think maybe talk to Williams to try and get a cost estimate. But to put this in perspective, you know, the Forest Service has a standard manual for construction of vaults. And they have a standard guideline of the volume used is that 100 gallons will serve 1,500 people. And those porta potties, you know, generated however many, 1,900 gallons is what I came up with. Well, if you do the math, that equates to close to 30,000 people, 30,000 uses. So, you know, we are talking about a significant impact on the community. And so, you know, it's probably something that needs to be considered. Obviously, it's a cost that needs to be identified as.
It would probably take a pretty big system to handle that
Well, I mean,
basis.
That's just the number.
Yes.
You know, based upon Forest Service guidelines.
Yes.
We don't know if there are 30,000
No,
people.
but you've got 1,900 gallons in 1 month.
Well, that's right. And
That's
so, you know, I mean, there's a lot that needs to be looked at.
Yeah.
And,
Corey?
So just my comment, you know, it's been really nice that the PHCA has opened the museum, but it's kind of been my concern is, does anybody there think that septic's designed that big?
That's what we were just talking
And so,
about.
and that's, I know that's
Yeah.
kind of what you're talking about, but I mean, I would guess the same thing with the community center. Is it designed that big?
We'll
Probably
have
not.
to, we'll have to find
Well,
out.
you
It
know,
may not be.
And if, you know, in the case that it fails or it has issues, whose problem does it become?
Well, that's one thing about a vault. You can always
Yeah.
solve it by just pumping it. Rand?
If the PCA septic is big enough to handle it, what might be better than using their restrooms is build a little two-holer, just slab floor, wooden walls, just 2 flush toilets outside so the Newcomb Center doesn't get tore up. Because you know public restrooms, they're gonna tear that. That way it'd be a little building that could be built maybe a little stronger to handle tear-ups, but people don't respect public restrooms.
Probably something that would be good is you could just go in there with a pressure washer. And pressure wash it. Brad?
I'd like to ask the committee to think about not only the upfront costs, but the ongoing cleaning, maintenance.
Well, yes.
And
Those
give
would
us-
have to be cleaned daily.
Give us a kind of a projection on what you think those costs are. Well, the committee, I think, has a fair amount of work to do. I mean, there's
Yes.
some other issues that need to be considered. If we're talking about a vault, the town's gonna have to amend the on-site wastewater treatment ordinance to allow those. And then if you do that, and Mr. McDonald referred to this earlier, that you can't just, the town can't just, you know, give itself a variance. You kind of open the door to vaults around town, so that's another thing that needs to be discussed if you were to go that route. The other thing would be, you know, where are you gonna put this facility, whether it's at the Newcomb Center, whatever, there's all the NIMBY issue. You know, I don't want it in my backyard, so there's gonna be people that have that issue. So there's a lot of things that this committee has yet to look at. Certainly some of the comments here are helpful, and, you know, Rand's suggestion maybe bears some discussion too. So.
Eddie?
Just to reply to Brad's issue, that's part of why I priced the concrete structure like
Yeah.
that. That's what they did in the city of Gunnison.
Yeah.
They bring it in, set it there. It's not a vault, it's hooked into the plumbing. But with a concrete system like that, instead of the nice wood place, you can walk in there with a power washer and literally clean the place. So as far as from a maintenance standpoint and taking care of it, I think that's a little easier. Yes, the price up front is a lot more. And then as far as the ongoing, just the pumping, that's why I said roughly, you're looking at $725 for a busy month like that one.
And I think it was just assumed that the town clerk would take care of the cleaning.
Yeah. Well, I think, oh, no, we like Sarah. There will be no comments to that.
I think that $725 maintenance, I mean, plus,
There's
plus
gonna be
cleaning
toilet paper and
is
et cetera and all that.
reasonable, because we paid over $2,000 this year, ran.
You know, when we were working on this a year or so ago, when Sean was on the board, he came up with some prices that were 28,000. If I remember.
Well, that's probably something else we need to talk to Sean, because
If
there
he's
was
got
a
it all.
discussion, I don't know, James, maybe you remember this, that there was some discussion about putting a vault toilet up by the kiddie pond or someplace in that area, you know, so I mean,
We were gonna ask the Forest Service
so I
if
think
they,
that Sean had talked to him a little bit,
Okay.
and they didn't really slam the door on it, but
well, we need to pursue all options. I don't wanna close the door on anything. Yes,
Mr.
Jim?
Mayor, I have a question of the committee. Are you considering a year-round facility or something that is May to October?
I didn't consider year-round. I mean, with a vault, it's probably gonna be a little tough to pump in January and that, but
I'm reckoning so, I just
yeah.
wasn't sure.
But that's why I went with this. There's no electricity, there's no heat, it's just a bathroom.
Yeah. Okay.
all you need is $50,000, you got it solved.
Well, we have some things to talk over. And if I was a member of the PHCA, I would be concerned about opening the doors and turning people loose in there. I like the idea of having a concrete structure you can just power wash. You know, I like that. Because if we make an agreement to use theirs, and after a couple of years, there turns out to be damage, which there probably will be, then we might be then we might be right back to where we are now. That's just my thoughts on it. Eddie?
And I can't tell you without going up to the bathroom to look, but most of the time when you go in public restrooms today, there's the special bolts that are used.
Yes.
So people don't take the screws out and don't tear
Oh,
stuff
yes.
up, etc. So unless those bathrooms were designed with that, it does, I think, create a lot of potential for problems.
Everything needs to be up to code. Absolutely. Brad?
One question, you said we paid $2,460 for toilets, and that was for 6, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay.
There were
Okay.
initially 4, but very shortly after that, yeah.
Okay, I will put this on the agenda. Candy?
Currently for the members on the committee, if you need to see the Newcomb Center, that's an idea. There are, in that hallway, there are closets that have sliding doors. It's where our heating system is, it's where the hot water system is. None of that is locked. Rachel keeps her cleaning supplies. There's extra paper towels, toilet paper, whatever in that closet. Those are not locking doors.
Well, I'm gonna table this, of course, until the next meeting. Maybe the committee will come up with some more prices and more prices and ideas. I don't know when the grant cycle is for GOCO. That's the Greater Colorado Outdoors. But one of the things that they do is parks. They like to do parks. And I have boards, the town boards we've had in the past, every time I've mentioned the word park, I get more negatives and the whole thing just dies right there. But if they would come in and we could split the cost and they could take our playground and turn it into a park and have restrooms, I think it'd be a great thing. But every time I've mentioned anything to do with parks, you just get buried in comments about liability and maintenance, and nobody even votes on, And I think that would be a good thing to look into, is if we could end up getting a real park too. So those are just things that we need to talk over. Okay, vote on new cemetery board members. We've got some volunteers. It was Richard Henley
Mark Rossmiller
and Mark Rossmiller
and Jesse Garrettson.
and Jesse Garrettson. Okay, are they any of those people here, or? Okay, Mark's here, yeah. I don't think, yeah. You know, somebody wants to volunteer to help us out. I don't think we're going to grill them too much. But does anybody have any questions they want to ask him? Oh,
The cemetery board approved those and made the recommendation to the trustees, so they've already been approved by the cemetery.
okay. So I guess if we just had a motion and a second, we could approve those appointments.
I'll make a motion to approve the volunteers to the cemetery board as you named.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, I've got a second from Chris. All in favor of appointing these three persons to the cemetery board, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, now we're down to discuss and vote on conduct and complaint resolution, and where exactly are we on this? I know it's been discussed a time or two.
Mr. Mayor, I prepared two resolutions. Resolution to adopt the Town of Pitkin complaint procedure, and a resolution to adopt the Town of Pitkin Code of Conduct for elected officials.
Okay,
I can speak to the resolutions, they're fairly benign. I'll hand out the complaint procedure one first.
now we would just vote to publish these, right?
It's a resolution, you don't need to publish
Okay,
it.
that-
A resolution that addresses supplemental appropriations needs to be published, but this does not. May I make one comment before we address the resolution, Mr. Mayor?
Sure.
Rachel, you crafted this complaint procedure, is that correct?
I did, I used the current zoning code and the information, the new information for the conduct. And I apologize for not doing it sooner, but I have a copy here where there's some red words added by Mr. Reed's suggestion last month that we make a point in saying in here that any zoning related grievances are referred to the zoning board, not used, this form is not used for those. So I put in red everywhere where I referenced, and I can get that to you if it's needed. That was not in the copy.
Okay, so I also had a comment for you.
Yeah.
On the first page, it says time-sensitive nuisance complaints, and it says, please contact the mayor. I would submit that you might consider adding or authorized agent of the town.
Yes.
And put something along the lines of the mayor, paren, or agent shall, close paren, shall provide written notice of all complaints received within 7 days thereafter to the town clerk.
Well, we can catch up after.
Okay, do we need, if we're going to vote on this, do we need to have this read? Has it been read? I don't think
It
so.
was left at the post office and it was put up on both websites and it's been
Distributed.
distributed.
Okay, well, I just want to make sure that we,
Have you added to it?
Just the comment that violations of the zoning code are addressed within the zoning ordinance, those matters need to be referred to the zoning board. That's what this red says. So if that's enough, that this is a resolution. Whatever you think.
okay, are there, okay, we're working on the resolution to adopt Town of Pitkin complaint procedure. Any questions, comments?
I did have a thought that if we need to add a harassment policy and the termination procedure, that those possibly could fit within this. Just
Okay.
I don't know, unless they need to be standing alone.
Yeah,
Stand
Probably,
I think it's separate.
yeah.
Yeah, Matt?
Rachel, is the complaint form that you passed out last month, is it still the same?
It hasn't changed at all,
Okay.
except I put non-zoning related issues
Okay.
to take care of that.
Do we have a resolution number for this, or
15.
15? Okay, are we ready to vote on this?
Well, you can read the,
Read this?
this right here.
Yes.
Okay. Resolution to adopt the Town of Pitkin complaint procedure. Whereas Colorado Revised Statutes 2009 31-15-101 authorizes a municipality to enact regulations that promote the health, safety, and welfare and improve order, comfort, and convenience of the municipality and inhabitants thereof. And whereas the complaint procedure guidelines attached hereto and incorporated as though set forth fully herein provides guidelines designed to improve complaint communications between the members of the general public and Board of Trustees of the Town of Pitkin, and otherwise serves to increase the public's confidence in the Board of Trustees, and whereas the Board of Trustees of the Town of Pitkin has determined that the Town of Pitkin, Colorado would benefit from the adoption of the complaint procedure, now therefore be it resolved that the Town of Pitkin complaint procedure shall be adopted by the Town of Pitkin Board of Trustees. Introduced, read, and adopted this 13th day of September 2016.
Okay, any other comments, questions? Okay, I guess we can go ahead and call a vote on the, did we get them? We don't have a motion yet, do we? Okay, need a motion and a second.
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution number 15, series 2016, to adopt the Town of Pitkin complaint procedure.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, I got a second from Matt. Okay. All in favor?
Mr. Mayor, may I ask a question before
Sure.
you call the vote?
Okay.
Eddie, are you considering it as amended by Ramon Reed's proposed amendment and the town attorney's proposed amendment, or as drafted?
As amended. So I'll adjust my motion to
Okay.
include the amendments recommended by Jim and the ones that Rachel stated that were proposed by Mr. Reed.
All in favor of resolution 15, series 16, Pitkin complaint procedure, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay. Now we have the code of conduct.
Yes, Mr. Mayor?
Okay. Okay, should we read this thing first?
If you want, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, well, we're gonna have to
Brad
read
would
it,
like
so.
to-
And we have a motion to talk about this.
Yes, we can. But we got to
I'll make a motion that we discuss the code of conduct for elected officials.
Okay, I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, now this is to talk about it only,
Yeah.
okay?
Under 1A6, it says, avoid expressing opinions during public hearings. Trustees will not express opinions during public hearing portion of the meeting except to ask pertinent questions of the speaker or staff. I think and I feel comments by the trustees are not appropriate until after the close of the public hearing. Trustees should refrain from arguing and debating with the public during the hearing and should always show respect for different points of view. I don't have any trouble with the last sentence. But I think we're here to discuss our opinions. I mean, of what's good for the town. I mean, I don't understand why we can't talk about what our opinions are. I mean, Eddie gave an opinion today that concrete vaults and
Well,
a
I
concrete
agree.
toilet is better than a wooden one.
Easier to clean.
Easier to clean.
Easier to
May I,
maintain.
may I put this in a little bit more perspective for you?
Yes.
And I appreciate your point of view very much. The town of Pitkin, if you read through the zoning code and various other places, there are opportunities for a member of the public to present something to the board. And this is, the way that I have read this is during those times. And I did not draft this entirely myself. This came from other towns' adaptations of this. And for example, if someone is presenting the board with a personal opinion or a concern or even explaining themselves, it is not at that point that we respond. And so during the public hearing portion, which is when someone is offering something to the board, it is not at that time that the board should say, well, let me respond to that right now. And in my understanding of this, that is what it refers to as public hearings. That is not to suggest that we should not discuss things. It's that we accept what somebody has said, say thank you for your concern, or if it's during a zoning appeal, for example, they have that time to present their information. We ask pertinent questions, but we don't say, well, I don't think you should be doing that because this is why. I mean, that is, so to me, putting it into perspective, that's what it's talking about.
So this is describing public comment at public hearings.
Yes.
Yeah, those words.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. I would.
Where would you like to?
6 in the bold where it says avoid expressing opinions during public comment time during public hearings.
It's actually under public meeting headings, though, Brad.
Well, yeah, we don't even need public
Yeah, I
meetings
think it
at
just
the
needs
end
to
of
have
it.
public comment to.
Yeah.
Change it to public comment.
Or, okay. So just put in during public comment.
Yeah. That would do it.
And the other thing is it's not always, for example, when we have an appeal or these kinds of things, it's a specific person you're asking, and it's not necessarily always public comment. It could be, yeah. So I think adding that covers both bases. So thank you for the suggestion. And I would also like to say, this has been emailed again to Sarah, who then sent it out to the staff. And Mr. Olson had suggested that we add a section referencing adherence to the sunshine laws, and also that this is supplementary to other documents already required by the state for public officials. So those two areas have been added to this as suggested at the last meeting.
Rachel, is that referenced in the first two sentences?
Yes.
Okay.
And also, there was another one that was underlined further down. I underlined the additions, and mine's not underlined. But it's about.
Middle of page 2.
Yes, thank you. And it says, it adds on to number 7.
Very good.
Avoid the appearance of impropriety, Colorado sunshine laws. Do I need to read it? Or just say it's there?
Read it.
Okay.
Never heard.
Colorado sunshine laws make it clear what is and is not allowed when it comes to discussion of town business in public, in the presence of other board committee members, and how to correctly post notice of such meeting. Chance meetings in which public business is not the central purpose are exempt from the sunshine laws. However, the appearance of impropriety should be avoided when possible. So I didn't reiterate the laws, I just referenced them.
Okay, are there any other questions?
I've got one.
Yeah, Eddie?
Let me find it here where I was. On page 4, under section D, conduct with other boards and commissions. In bold, it says, if attending a board or commission meeting, be careful to only express personal opinions. If we have people sitting on the town council that are also on another board or commission of the town, how does that impact that? I guess I kind of throw that out to Jim.
I read that and I was confused, Eddie.
Okay.
That was one where at some point, and I think ultimately that what this document's trying to say is, if you're on the Board of Trustees, you've got that hat, and everybody knows it, so you gotta be careful what you say. But that was one where I read that and I was, quite frankly, a little bit confused, especially given that some Board of Trustees are also on other boards or commissions, or other commissions, pardon me.
Suggestion on a better wording,
Okay,
just to better, I could just mess with it a little, make it clearer.
I think it would be good to have some clarification on that.
Okay.
I would assume that this is the document you know, garnered from other towns, which are probably much larger. And typically, a trustee is not sitting on
Correct.
Right.
commissions.
Correct.
Yeah.
And then under where it says, however, if the board or commission is conducting a public hearing, the trustee shall remove himself from the proceedings. So we probably want to try to,
I think that needs to be either stricken or finessed, because we do have folks that wear more than one hat.
Yeah.
well, when you have a town with this few people, you pretty well have to.
Okay, we'll make it suit Pitkin better. Thank you for the input.
Okay, are there any other questions on this? Can we go ahead and vote this with the changes that she's penciled in?
I would move to table this till the next time and we're able to read the
Okay,
corrections.
well, that's what I want to make sure, that's what I want to make sure.
I'll second the motion to table.
Okay, well, I don't think, do we have to vote to table?
You should.
Okay, all in favor of tabling the code of conduct till the next meeting, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we come to the end of the agenda.
One sec, I just have a question. Will a copy of the revised be available at the post office?
Sure it will be.
Sure, yeah.
Of course.
I'll get the new draft shot out to the website.
Okay.
I'll put it in.
I will adjourn the meeting at 8:57.